always loved hiking alone, just me and the mountains. It's a kind of therapy, a way to disconnect from the world and all its noise. Last weekend, I decided to try a trail I'd never been on before. It was a bit off the beaten path, tucked away in a quiet corner of the national park, which made it all the more appealing. Less people, more solitude. The first few hours were everything I had hoped for. The air was cool, the trail rugged but manageable, and the only sounds were the crunch of leaves beneath my boots and the occasional call of a distant bird. But as I climbed higher, the trees became denser, blocking out the sun. The trail narrowed, and I had to push through thick branches and undergrowth. My GPS said I was still on track, but the deeper I went, the more I felt wrong. It's hard to explain, but you know that feeling when someone's staring at you, even though you can't see them? That's what it felt like. A heavy presence, like the forest was watching me. I shook it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid. There was no one out here, no animals bigger than a deer, and certainly no people. But as the light started to fade, that feeling of being watched grew stronger. Every rustle of leaves, every crack of a twig had me snapping my head around, expecting to see someone or something lurking in the shadows. Nothing was there, though. Nothing I could see, anyway. By the time I reached the summit, the sky was an angry shade of gray, thick clouds rolling in from the west. A storm was coming, and I still had to make it back down. I lingered at the top for a moment, trying to enjoy the view, but it was hard to shake the unease that had settled in my gut. I turned to head back, but as I did, something caught my eye. Far off the trail, just at the edge of the tree line, there was a figure. My heart skipped a beat. It was a man standing completely still, watching me. He was too far away for me to make out any details, but his posture was stiff, unnatural. I called out, but he didn't move. No wave, no acknowledgement. Just standing. A shiver ran down my spine. I don't know what possessed me to turn away, but I did. I told myself I was imagining things. People don't just stand like that silently in the middle of the woods. When I looked back, he was gone. I picked up my pace, moving as quickly as I could without risking a fall. The trail was steeper on the way down, and the first drops of rain had already started to fall. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, drowning out all other sounds. As I rounded a bend, I felt a prickle of fear crawl up the back of my neck. I looked ahead of me, and there he was again. The man. Closer this time. I could see him more clearly now, his face still obscured by the shadows of the trees. But his stance, it was wrong. He was slouched over, like he was barely holding himself up. I didn't call out this time, I just ran. The rain was coming down in sheets now, turning the trail into a slick, muddy mess. My boots slid on the wet ground, and branches whipped against my arms and face as I barreled through the underbrush. Every time I glanced over my shoulder, he was there, always closer, always the same unsteady posture, his head tilted unnaturally to one side. My lungs burned, and my legs felt like they were going to give out, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't shake the feeling that if I stopped, even for a second, he would catch me. The trail twisted again, and I skidded to a halt. Dead end. Somehow I had veered off course in my panic, and now I was staring at a sheer drop into the valley below. There was no way down, no way back. I turned around slowly, heart hammering in my chest. He was standing at the edge of the clearing, no more than 20 feet away. I could see him clearly now, tattered clothes hanging off his gaunt frame, pale skin stretched tight over his bones. His eyes, they were wrong, hollow, empty, like he wasn't really there. I took a step back, my foot slipping on the wet rock. His head twitched, and for the first time he moved. Slowly, painfully, he started to walk toward me, his limbs jerking awkwardly with each step, like a puppet on invisible strings. There was nowhere to go. I stood there for a moment, hoping when I turned around he'd be gone. But when I did, he was right there, inches from my face. I turned and ran and did not stop running until I was back at my car. I never looked back, and I never hiked in the woods again. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe and like my channel.